Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit ActiveDay.com to apply.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Hello and welcome to True Crime and the Court of Public Opinion. Today we're taking a small break from all the headlines, the scandals, the clickbait, the constant noise, and all the world mess right now. And we're going to talk about a different kind of collapse. Not the kind you scroll past, not the kind that trends. It's the kind that sticks with you. Because behind every billion-dollar lawsuit and crumbling empire, there is a person who once believed they were untouchable. And maybe at some point you felt that way too. Or maybe you felt the opposite, like nothing in your life has ever been secure, like the ground could just vanish at any moment. If so, welcome, you're not crazy. Being an American is hard right now. Jobs are shaky, prices are insane, and rules keep changing. And even when you do everything right, sometimes it still can fall apart. And that's what this episode is about, because I want you to know if that is something that you've had to experience, you are not alone. It's happening to people you know, people you follow, people you once even envied. And if you've ever looked at someone with more money, more fame, more power, and thought, they've got it made, wow, they could never have the problems I do, you might want to hear what happened next for some of these people. In this episode, I'm taking you through some very true stories of people who had everything. Some were stars, some were legends, some were born into wealth. Either way, all of them had one thing in common. They had it, and they lost it. Some fast, some slow, some in silence, some in front of the whole world. You're going to hear how they rose, how they settled in, how very sure they were. They had it all and it would stay that way. And then what broke first? Was it the money, the mind, the public image, the ego? You'll see that even with private jets, castles, staff, and designer everything, you still can fall. You still can screw up. You still can wake up one day and realize, I'm not who I used to be. It's not said to scare you. It's said to level the playing field because no matter how you feel about yourself right now, if you're in hard times, broke, stuck, feeling overlooked, just feeling overwhelmed, you're not alone, not by a long shot. And here I'm going to prove that to you one story at a time. This is Alexis Knight, and you're listening to True Crime in the Court of Public Opinion. Let's get into it. All right, who all can lose it all, right? Our first riches to rags story, MC Hammer, the man who could not be touched until he was. Back in the early 90s, and I know the 90s, but this was a big deal back then. So let's just take a look. MC Hammer, he wasn't just a rapper. He was a revolution. This guy brought hip-hop to the mainstream, made baggy pants iconic, and gave America one of its most unforgettable anthems. You can't touch this. He wasn't gritty. He wasn't angry. He was flashy, family-friendly, and this guy was everywhere. By 1991, Hammer was the highest paid rapper on earth. No joke. He had endorsement deals with Pepsi, sold out stadium tours, his own Saturday morning cartoon. He even had an action figure. Yep, that was a big deal back then. That's how big he was. He wasn't a guy hoping for fame. I mean, this guy was fame, right? If you wanted to know what that looked like, it was MC Hammer. He wasn't trying to get rich. He already was. And he believed his rich would stay forever. I mean, man, the guy was very wealthy and very successful. In his dynasty mode, at his peak, MC Hammer was worth over $30 million. I mean, it's just amazing. And he acted like it. He bought a 12.5-acre mansion in Fremont, California. Yep, it had a recording studio, a 17-car garage, private theater, 2 swimming pools, and a gold-plated gate with his initials on it. And inside, marble everything, velvet, mirrors, chandeliers, custom everything. His payroll, over 200 people that he paid. Bodyguards, stylists, gardeners, a chef, a full-time horse trainer for his stable. He said he wasn't just building a home, he was building an empire. We see a lot more empires these days, don't we? And I mean, he believed fully that this was not extravagance, it was legacy. He was a big deal, and he was going to leave a big deal behind. Hammer was quoted saying he wanted to set up generational wealth for his family, and he donated millions to churches and schools and community centers. He paid for friends' medical bills, their cars, their homes, even jobs they didn't show up for. And he wasn't being reckless. He thought he was being loyal and caring. But the money was moving faster than it was coming in, and no one around him was telling him to slow down. You know, you are worth over $30 million. In your mind, do you think you ever need to slow down? But I mean, we're starting to add up here. There's a lot going on in his life. Now, in 1995, Hammer's music had pretty much stopped selling. I mean, by 1995. Hip-hop was changing. It had changed. Fans wanted street, raw anger at this point. Not really his dance moves and sequence and Christian lyrics. And his label drops him. His business ventures flopped. And his entourage, well, they didn't downsize, though. He was burning through an estimated $500,000 per month. Not just on mortgages and taxes, guys. I mean, just on regular life expectations, as he had set it up. He couldn't say no, not to his people, not to his image, not to himself. And finally, the money ran out. In 1996, MC Hammer files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It's amazing. He claimed $1 million in assets and $13.7 million in debt. His mansion was sold off, $12 million estate reduced to a bank-owned shell. His cars vanished, his staff disappeared, the gold gate gone, replaced by iron. And he told the press, "I took care of everyone, and in the end, nobody took care of me." America didn't just watch Hammer fall. It laughed. I mean, the same people who once danced to "Too Legit to Quit" now used it as a total joke. He was mocked in late-night monologues, skits, and stand-up routines. Hip-hop just completely disowned him. He had been called a sellout long before the money dried up, and now they saw his collapse as proof of all of that. But behind the scenes, well, you know it was even darker. He was sued by former employees, hounded by creditors, chased for taxes. At one point, he owed $800,000 to the IRS and had to fight off foreclosure multiple times. And through it all, he tried to stay visible. He went on reality TV, did interviews, released gospel albums, and even worked with tech companies in Silicon Valley for a time, trying to reinvent himself. But the truth was simple. MC Hammer was no longer the man who couldn't be touched. He was the man who had been ripped apart by the very thing he built. So then what happens? Where is he now? Well, today MC Hammer still exists in the public eye, just softly. He's an ordained minister, a big accomplishment, a motivational speaker, a nostalgic concert act, and he tweets a lot. He occasionally pops up in documentaries and nostalgia specials. He still performs live, sometimes even the old hits. But now, it's casinos, not coliseums. His current net worth is estimated around $1.5 to $2 million. Enough to live comfortably, but not Hammer comfortably. And the truth is, this guy isn't bitter. He's said repeatedly in interviews that he learned from this, that he still believes in giving, and that if he had to do it all over again, he would do it the same way, maybe with fewer horses. But that quote still lingers. I took care of everybody, and in the end, nobody took care of me. That's not just about money. That's about fame and image and power, and that illusion, right, of permanence. We always think that once someone makes it, well, they have it made now, right? MC Hammer was once one of the most famous people on earth, guys. He was in your living room, your lunchbox, your locker. He was everywhere. And then suddenly he was not. All that money, all that momentum, and it still fell apart. That's what this episode is about. It's not just who had it all, but how fast it can all go for anyone. And Hammer, he didn't just fall. He danced straight into disaster. But look at him now. He's holding his own, and that's a good thing that we don't mind seeing at all. All right, next up in our riches to rags, let's talk about Johnny Depp, the man who spent $650 million and still lost control. There was a time when Johnny Depp wasn't just a movie star. This guy was a myth. He played outsiders, pirates, broken geniuses, drug-fueled dreamers. He didn't follow trends, that's for sure. This guy was the trend. With a single look, a shrug, or a slurred one-liner, he could carry an entire film franchise on his back.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting radio-exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Edward Scissorhands, Donnie Brasco, Sleepy Hollow, Pirates of the Caribbean, and behind it all, the scarves, the rings, the smoky voice, was a man people believed was really just untouchable. By the early 2000s, Johnny Depp was earning tens of millions of dollars per film. He had that rare position in Hollywood where, he could do anything, say anything, be anything. And people would not only accept it, they would celebrate it. He wasn't just playing Jack Sparrow. He was Jack Sparrow. Walking, talking proof that you could live weird and love hard and cash checks big enough to never worry again. But that isn't really how it turned out. Because Johnny Depp didn't just lose a movie role, he lost an empire. At his financial peak, Depp was worth an estimated $650 million. Wow. That's not fantasy money. That is real, earned, seen money. He owned 14 homes around the world, including a literal French village. He had a chain of penthouses in downtown LA, a yacht, a private island in the Bahamas. He was collecting art, guitars, rare books, and luxury cars by the dozens. According to court documents, he was spending upwards of $2 million a month. $2 million a month? Just to maintain his lifestyle. What could all be in that? Let's take a look. $30,000 a month on wine, $200,000 a month on private jets, $150,000 a month on security, and a $5 million cannon blast to shoot his friend Hunter S. Thompson's ashes into the sky. These are not rumors, guys. These were numbers his own financial team had to explain in court under oath. And Depp wasn't shy about any of it either. I mean, he famously said he needed $30 million a year just to live properly. And for a while, this all worked, because when you're making $50 to $75 million a year, even absurd spending looks like confidence, until it doesn't. In 2017, everything began to unravel. Johnny sued his longtime financial management group, claiming they had stolen from him, mismanaged his accounts, and pushed him toward financial collapse. But instead of quietly settling, the company turned around and sued him, and their legal filings laid everything bare. They said Johnny Depp's problems weren't mismanagement, they were math. He was living like the money would never, ever stop, even after it clearly had. New roles were getting harder to come by, studios were starting to pull back, but his spending didn't slow down. And then came the wrecking ball. We all saw it out there, right? I mean, you had to see it at some point. Amber Heard. In 2016, Heard files for divorce, accusing Depp of abuse. The story exploded, and not just across tabloids, but inside the courtroom of where? You know it, public opinion. In 2018, The Sun published a headline calling him a wife-beater, and Depp sued them for defamation, but he lost. That loss was devastating, not just financially, but professionally. Yeah, nobody likes that. Almost immediately, he was removed from the Fantastic Beasts franchise by Warner Brothers. He became unofficially too risky to cast. And he sued again, this time in the U.S., directly targeting Heard. That trial played out like a modern circus. Did you see any of this, guys? You had to catch some of it. It was live streamed, clipped, memed, hashtagged. It was everywhere. And he ends up winning the case. But the cost, years of legal fees. We're talking millions lost in work, and the financial shattering of the illusion that Johnny Depp is in control. The man who once defined cool had become a case study in how fame can rot when surrounded by lawsuits, enablers, and unchecked excess. Depp did not lose all his money. Let's be clear. This guy is still wealthy. He's still cool. By most definitions, he has a $20 million fragrance deal with Dior. That's not bad. He starred in a French historical drama and is prepping to direct a new film. He still sells art, plays guitar, makes appearances, but his net worth is now hovering around $150 million. Hey, still not bad. But it is a quarter of what it once was. And how would we all be feeling with that? And more importantly, the momentum's gone. He's not on every marquee anymore. He's not driving billion-dollar franchises, not anymore. He's not a guaranteed box office bet anymore. And that's the difference between rich and secure. Once you get rich, no, it is not always just set in stone. There are big risks, and they get riskier. There's a quote Depp once gave during an interview, and it said, "Money doesn't change anything. It just magnifies who you really are." Good quote, possibly. Do you agree? Maybe that's true. Maybe the private islands and custom cannons were always there, just waiting to happen. Maybe it was always going to go this way, But there's another version of this story, the quieter one. A man who came from nothing, because he did, who made everything, who trusted the wrong people, who didn't check his own books, and who thought $650 million meant freedom, when really it meant he had more to lose than anyone else. There were more ways he could be taken advantage of. And when the tide turned, he lost a lot. Not all of it, but enough to know this: you can have everything and still not be safe. All right, next up, riches to rags, Alan Stanford, the billionaire who wasn't. Not every downfall makes the headlines, but really, who can believe those anymore anyway? Some happen quietly, with no movie role to lose, no fans to mourn you, and no TikTok edits of your rise and fall. Just an empire made of lies and the sound it makes when it collapses. This is the story of Alan Stanford, a man you may never have heard of, actually, and a man who once ranked among the richest in America. Yep, he was a billionaire banker, knighted in Antigua, flying private, running his own island cricket league. He wore crisp white suits and wraparound sunglasses and threw around $100 bills like they were business cards. He told people he had a fortune of over $8 billion. Wowzers. Except that was all a lie. Alan Stanford wasn't just rich. He was faking rich, and for a while, this did work. But like so many lies, it worked until it didn't. Well, let's go over the fantasy this guy had. He got his start in Texas real estate. Quiet, modest, slow money. But it wasn't enough. Not for the image he wanted. In the 90s, he shifted into offshore banking, setting up Stanford International Bank in the Caribbean. And from there, things exploded. He promised wealthy clients guaranteed returns on certificates of deposit, the kind of safe, boring investments that typically offer about 1% to 2% returns. Except Stanford claimed he could get double digits, and consistently, and he could do it safely. I mean, if it sounds too good to be true, what do we say, And this was. But he was unbelievably convincing. He gave off all this confidence and wealth and power. He built a sports empire, hosted cricket matches with million-dollar purses, shook hands with world leaders, donated to political campaigns, all the stuff you need to do. He was knighted in Antigua. In 1 year alone, he flew his jet to 135 cities around the globe. And at his peak, he was on the Forbes 400 list. Net worth, $2.2 billion, and no one, not even the U.S. government, was asking questions. So what kind of scheme did this guy have going on anyway? Well, clearly Stanford wasn't a banker. He was running a massive Ponzi scheme. Client money did not go into investments. It went into the black hole of luxury and image maintenance. When new deposits came in, he used them to pay returns on earlier investors. Just like Bernie Madoff. Remember that guy? Except Stanford didn't live like Bernie. He lived bigger. He owned a fleet of private jets, a yacht so large it needed its own dock, multiple island properties, offices designed to look like Swiss banks, complete with fake gold bars. He didn't just want to appear wealthy. This guy wanted to be untouchable. Like, I'm so big, just don't even bother looking at me. But cracks started to show. Financial journalists began asking how his returns could be so consistent during market downturns. And some investors tried to pull their money and ran into delays. Because, Ponzi schemes, they end up with those little hiccups that start to show everything. And by 2009, the SEC had started a full investigation. And then the whole thing snapped. In February of 2009, Alan Stanford was arrested by federal agents and charged with orchestrating a $7 billion Ponzi scheme. I mean, can you even imagine? They froze his assets, of course, raided his office, and revealed that nearly everything he claimed, from returns to liquidity to backing reserves, was fabricated. More than 30,000 investors were impacted. Families lost life savings. Retirees were wiped out. Charities, small business owners, even other financial firms had been duped. The illusion was over, and the man who had once thrown million-dollar parties in tropical mansions was denied bail and locked in a prison cell. Stanford tried to defend himself as a legitimate businessman who'd been misunderstood. But, the evidence was overwhelming. Testimony revealed he had used investor funds to cover personal loans to himself. He altered financial statements, forged audits. He paid out fake dividends just to keep up appearances. His entire bank operation was a house of cards. In 2012, he was convicted of 13 counts of fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction. The sentence, get ready for this, 110 years in federal prison. Not parole, no island, no yacht there. Just concrete in a cell in a Louisiana prison, where he is sitting right now to this day. Alan Stanford did not just lose his money, he lost everything that money created. His knighthood was revoked. His citizenship in Antigua was stripped. His name was pulled from buildings and teams and foundations. This guy was erased. That's all that could happen. The damage was done. You couldn't erase that. The victims, still recovering, they just can't get that back. And some never will get any of it back. Stanford's Ponzi scheme is considered one of the largest in U.S. history, second only to Bernie. And while Bernie became a cautionary tale, Stanford became a ghost. No documentaries, no apology tour, just silence. And think about it, Alan Stanford wanted to be known. He wanted to be respected and envied and feared. And for a while he was. He convinced the world he had billions, and by the time they realized he didn't, it was too late. What he built wasn't wealth, it was optics. And once that curtain dropped, there was nothing left. Just a man, a lie, and a prison cell. If you're still measuring someone's success by the size of their house out there or the cut of their suit, well, you can now just remember Alan Stanford, because he had all of those things, and none of it was even real. Just always remember, when you look out there and you have envy or wonder what that must be like, just know things are not always what they seem, and problems, they're for everybody. Okay, next up in Riches to Rags, I'm going with Wesley Snipes. Yeah, he's from kind of a while ago, but this guy made a huge hit. Have you ever seen the movies Blade, the Blade series? That was a very big deal, and he was very good, very respected. He's an action star who couldn't dodge the IRS, though. There was a moment back in the 90s, though, when Wesley Snipes, this guy was the man. He wasn't just in movies. He was the movie. He was fast and sharp, very cool, very dangerous. He was in Passenger 57, Demolition Man, New Jack City, and of course, Blade, big deal. If it had explosions and sunglasses or slow-motion standoffs, Snipes, he was the guy. Big deal. He had charisma, power, definitely box office numbers. He played action stars, street legends, even jazz musicians. And by the early 2000s, he was not just famous, this guy was loaded. Wesley Snipes earned an estimated $40 million at his peak. He had multiple homes, all the luxury cars, and one of the most profitable franchises in Marvel history. Yep, before the MCU existed. But behind all the kicks and one-liners, there was a man who didn't believe he had to pay taxes. Nope. And that belief, well, it ended up costing him everything. By the time Blade hit theaters, back in 1998, I know, another old one, but hey, these guys are important to note. Wesley Snipes, he was a made man. The film was a surprise box office smash. It grossed over $130 million worldwide, with Snipes earning an estimated $13 million between that and the sequels. He had real estate across the U.S. He had invested in companies, tried to launch his own production studio. And he had the kind of clout most actors dream of, but something shifted. Snipes began associating with a group that promoted these anti-tax ideologies. Fringe advisors who claimed the IRS was illegal. The federal government had no power really to collect income tax, and that filing returns was a voluntary act. Instead of just cheating the system quietly, Snipes went all in. Between 1999 and 2004, Wesley Snipes did not file a single tax return. Not an oversight. This was not a missed deadline. This is a full-on conscious choice, written refusal. The IRS says he failed to pay over $7 million in back taxes during that period, and that isn't including. It's not including penalties, interest, or other violations. He also submitted fraudulent tax refund claims, trying to recoup the money that he never paid in the first place. So then the government, they go ahead and charge him with conspiracy, fraud, willful failure to file. And then Snipes, of course, tries to fight it. He claimed he was misled by his advisors, which those advisors, who are they, that he didn't fully understand the system, and that he wasn't trying to scam, he was just objecting. But the jury did not buy it, and in 2008 he was found guilty on 3 misdemeanor counts of willfully failing to file. And Wesley Snipes, once one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood, was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison. He served time at McKean Federal Correctional Institute in Pennsylvania. He didn't get special treatment, guys. He didn't get any Hollywood favors. He just got a cell like everybody else. He was released in 2013, and he was millions in debt at that point, blacklisted by the studios and scrambling to try to recover his image. He'd lost homes. He'd lost income. He definitely lost momentum. And in the years that followed, he tried to make a comeback. He appeared in The Expendables 3, took smaller roles, Netflix series. But the era of Wesley Snipes, the movie star, well, that was over. The Blade reboot, yeah, that wasn't even considered. Nope. Because Blade was too good. They weren't going to touch that. Wesley Snipes didn't lose everything in a scandal. He didn't burn it on bad business or gambling. He lost it because he did not believe the rules applied to him. Where would he be if he just would have paid his taxes? And he followed people who told him that he was right. Even now, he speaks carefully about it. He does not fully renounce the beliefs, but he also doesn't challenge the system. Because when it was all over, and the roles dried up and the checks stopped, and the fans forgot, Snipes had no choice but to face a very real and cold, hard truth. You can be rich, you can be famous, but if you don't pay your taxes like other Americans, the government will come knocking. And when they do, there is no slow-motion escape plan. Wesley Snipes made his living dodging bullets on screen, but in real life it was not bullets that got him, it was paperwork, deadlines, and receipts. The most boring villain of all, and it destroyed him. He's not living on the street, but he went from superstar to supporting actor, from a Marvel icon to now a cautionary tale. Because let's face it, guys, no matter how fast you run or how cool you look doing it, you have to pay your taxes like all the other Americans out there. You can't outrun the IRS. All right, next up, Blac Chyna. From $240 million to selling her shoes. This one has a little bit of a twist. Now, Blac Chyna, you couldn't miss her if you tried. Blac Chyna, real name Angela White, was every single place, everywhere, all the time, for a minute. Reality shows, strip clubs, Kardashians, and courtrooms. She had the body, she had the brand, she had the followers, the deals, and the drama. She launched makeup lines, modeled clothes, dated rappers, dated Rob Kardashian. I'm sure you probably caught wind of that at some point. She turned her name and her curves into a digital gold mine. At her peak, she claimed to be making $240 million on OnlyFans. No, that's what I said, $240 million on OnlyFans. She was one of the highest paid content creators on the platform, reportedly bringing in more than Kim Kardashian or Beyonce. She bought a mansion, collected exotic cars, flew private, walked red carpets, living the dream. I mean, she was living like money would never stop. And now, she's selling her designer shoes online just to pay bills. This story is interesting. In 2023, something changed. Blac Chyna announced she was done. She shut down her OnlyFans account voluntarily, deleted her content, removed her implants, dissolved her facial fillers. And if you haven't seen those videos, she did it right online. She said she wanted to live a new life, a clean one, natural, and close to God. She started going by Angela White again. She even got baptized and told interviews, "I was doing too much. I wanted to feel peace." It was admirable. It was honest. It was brave even. But it also came with a price, because when she walked away from the business that made her rich, she also walked away from the money, of course. So fast forward to now. Angela has admitted publicly that she is broke. In court documents and interviews, she said she hadn't filed taxes since 2018. She doesn't have a functioning bank account. And she's selling clothing and handbags and accessories online to pay for legal battles and basic expenses. She lost a massive lawsuit against the Kardashians. She lost custody of both of her children. And she's currently selling her $4.6 million mansion in LA to avoid foreclosure. This isn't bankruptcy court, okay? This isn't fraud. This is a slow, steady, voluntary undoing of everything she once used to prop herself up. And that is what makes her and this story different. Blac Chyna did not get scammed. She didn't get locked up. She wasn't forced out. This girl walked out on her own. She said no to the money machine. She stepped off the carousel. I can't be more clear. She is the one making her choices. And now she's figuring out what life looks like without all the glamour and the clicks and the checks. That is not failure. That is a choice. And Angela White says she is not ashamed. She says she's finally free. And maybe she is. Because here's the truth. She didn't lose it all by accident. She let it go. She saw the money, the lifestyle, the headlines, and said, "This isn't even worth it." And that is rare. Most people hold on tighter. They want more. Most people would do anything to keep those checks coming. But she walked away. And whether you respect her choices or question her judgment, she is one of the very few people who had it all and chose peace over profit. So when we envy all those cars and the curves and the clicks and the cash, maybe we don't know everything that we see. We don't know what we're really looking at. Sometimes what we see as having it all was never worth it in the first place. All right, now I'm going to move into my final riches to rags. We've talked about reality stars, rappers, investor, influencer, people who spent too fast, fell too far, bet on the wrong thing. But now I want to slow down and take a closer look, not just at what it means to go broke, but how someone can have everything and still spend themselves into collapse with no crime, no fraud, no scandal, just denial. So for this next one, we're going to look at a movie star, someone you've definitely seen, someone who is just in a major motion picture playing himself, and someone who once had $150 million, owned castles, islands, a haunted mansion, even a dinosaur skull, and still somehow lost it all. This is the Nicolas Cage case study of our episode. And if you think financial collapse only happens when you do something illegal, this will make you think again. Nicolas Cage did not go broke overnight. He didn't crash because of fraud, run from taxes, or fake a product, lie to investors, burn his brand to the ground. He simply refused to stop living like a king. There we go with that lifestyle again. And the kingdom, well, it ran out of gold. At one point, Nicolas Cage was one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood, earning $150 million in just over a decade. He won an Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas. If you haven't seen that, that is one harsh film, but it did very well. He starred in blockbusters like Face Off, National Treasure, that was a big hit for the young ones, Con Air, Gone in 60 Seconds, The Rock. I mean, this guy was a household name, a bankable star for sure. He could command $20 million per role, no questions asked. But with that money came something else, delusion, because Cage didn't just enjoy his wealth, he turned it into a circus act. Here's a quick list of what Mr. Nicolas Cage bought during his peak earning years. 15 properties, including 2 European castles, a mansion once owned by haunted murder legend Madame Lalaurie, a private island in the Bahamas, a sprawling Bel Air estate that never had been lived in, a $276,000 dinosaur skull, which he later had to return to the Mongolian government when it turned out it was stolen, a 9-foot-tall burial tomb in New Orleans for himself, multiple albino king cobras, a shark, an octopus, which he claimed helped his acting, a collection of rare comic books, including Action Comics 1, Superman's first appearance, dozens of luxury and vintage cars, including a Lamborghini that once belonged to the Shah of Iran. I mean, this was not spending. This was obsession. He told GQ years later, "I overinvested in real estate. I wasn't frivolous, but I was impractical." I mean, this guy wanted to build a legacy. He wanted an identity, maybe even some mystique. But what he actually built was a time bomb. In 2009, the IRS filed a $6.2 million tax lien against Cage, and that was just the beginning. Other liens and debts quickly were stacking up. Over $13 million in unpaid taxes, something he ran into. Mortgages, makes you ask why. Legal fees, how? He blamed his former business manager, Samuel Levin, and sued him for $20 million, claiming negligence and fraud. Well, Levin responded by saying Cage was simply just out of control, ignoring his warnings and burning through cash like it could never run out. It's not like Cage was unaware. He later admitted to spending $20,000 a month just trying to support his mother's mental health care. He claimed everything he bought had meaning, and none of it was for vanity. But reality didn't care about meaning. The banks came anyway. Now, what makes Cage's story unique, and in some ways admirable, is this. He never filed for bankruptcy. He had the right to, he had the reason to, but he didn't. Instead, he said, "I'm going to work my way out of this." And you know what? He did. Well, kind of. From 2010 to 2020, Nicolas Cage appeared in nearly 40 films. Many of them were direct-to-video, low-budget, or completely off mainstream radar. But he was doing what he said he would do. Critics called it collapse. Fans called it desperation. But Cage said something different. He said, "Work was always my guardian angel. It may not have been the best movies, but I never phoned it in." And that was true. No matter how bad the script or how small the role, Cage showed up. He acted, he committed, and he got paid. No, it wasn't the $20 million per film he was used to, more like 1 or 2, but enough to help chip away at the mountain. And by 2022, Cage announced he had finally paid off his debts, including the IRS. In 2022, Cage then starred in The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, a fictionalized version of himself, playing himself. And this was great, guys. This film was funny, sharp, and unexpectedly human. It showed a man who knew he'd become a caricature, who knew he'd spent too much and, yes, too often, and lost sight of reality. and who finally seemed ready to live differently. He told the press, "That movie helped me close the chapter on that version of myself." Today, Nicolas Cage is still working, but now it's on his terms, more selective, more grounded, and reportedly debt-free. But he's not the same man he was, because to stay rich, you have to stop spending like you're invincible. And Cage didn't learn that lesson until he nearly lost everything. Nicolas Cage didn't go broke because he was dumb. He didn't go broke because he was cruel or criminal or careless. He went broke because he believed the money would always be there. Like so many people out there that think when people have money, the people we admire, now they're set for life. That's what Nicolas Cage thought, and people told him this. You know, when you're famous enough, no one tells you to stop, because you're probably paying them too. And because success, especially the kind that shows up in wire transfers and magazine covers, it can convince you that you are immune to reality. But no one is. He wasn't. Cage's story is not about stupidity. It is about self-inflation and what happens when your lifestyle gets bigger than your truth, and how easy it is to believe for just a little too long that it will never catch up. But it does. So what did we just hear? Not just stories of wealth, but stories of collapse. Some slow, some sudden, some tragic, some self-inflicted, some that make you shake your head, and some that make you wonder if you might have done the same. Because here's the truth. Money does not make you immune. Fame does not make you stable, and success, no matter how big, how loud, how gold-plated, it doesn't come with a seatbelt. MC Hammer gave too much. Johnny Depp bled out in public. Alan Stanford built an empire on lies. Wesley Snipes thought the IRS could not catch him. And Blac Chyna cashed every check and then walked away. And Nicolas Cage, he believed the story of himself so hard he almost spent it into oblivion, but then caught himself. Each one is still standing, just differently than before. What these stories really show us is that the fall doesn't always look like a scandal. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like dignity. Sometimes it looks like delusion. And sometimes it looks just like you, trying to hold it together, trying not to lose what you've built, trying not to let go. But if there is one thing you take from this episode, let it be this. Having everything does not mean you are safe, and losing everything does not mean you're finished. You've been listening to True Crime and the Court of Public Opinion. I'm Alexis Knight, and tonight you don't need a gavel to know when someone's guilty. You just have to watch them spend. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you guys the next time.